Welcome, everybody. This is a exciting week. Honestly, it's maybe the week that we've all geared up all season for, because this is the week that everyone gets a taste of the playoffs. Whether you're in the losers bracket, the winners bracket, everyone's in the playoffs this week. And that's exciting. There's no bye weeks. We're all playing. We all have something on the line. For the losers bracket, you know what you're fighting for. That big $100 bill. And not getting the pink license plate on your car/boat. So listen, there's a lot at stake. It's important, even if you're in the losers bracket. For the winners, look, this is where all the pressure hits. Semifinal week. Who wants to get to the finals? Graham, are you excited?
This is everything. This is all everything we're waiting for the whole season. All the shit talking. Everything. That's what we're waiting. This is everything. The draft, everything. This is what we play for. To get a game.
It's fun, man. It's really it's just one of the highlights really of my sports years is this week right here. And it hurts when you're not in the playing for something important, but I kind of like we're trying to set up tiers where even if you're not playing for first place, you're playing for something. So that's fun. And Graham, I gotta say, last week it wasn't easy getting here, was it?
No, it was I had to rely on, well, first of all, when Kirk Cousins, I had a week, this whole playoff was sphincter tightening playoffs from the 0 points Kirk Cousins laid in the first half to then the 80 points he put in the half, and then relying on the find, Casey Nixon, to come out and have the game he had, at the same time playing against Scorp Speed, who had defensive players. He had offensive players. Every time someone had the ball, he had a chance to get points.
Yeah,
and it was crazy. It was crazy. It was a good time. It was great.
Yeah, I was watching your matchup closely because yours went into Monday night, right? And then mine was it was a Sunday night panic episode. And I've never seen Yahoo go back and forth so much on the who's going to win. Like every 10 minutes, it had Lenny by 75%, then it would have me by 62. And I mean, it was back and forth. I was like, I can't take it anymore, man. I had to take a break. And the fact that Lenny had some of my receivers that my quarterback was throwing to was crushing me. It was just that last play, that my guy caught at the end of that Patriots game. Chandler Jones and ran it in, kind of sealed the deal for me. So that was super exciting.
I mean, that was just, that play there again. And it wasn't like it was a scrub player from New England who threw it. It's Jacoby Myers, who I had on my team, traded him, but he's a go-to, like he's a New England, like he's their guy. And he made such a boneheaded play. And no one ever heard, I haven't heard anything about this if he didn't know the score. I wonder if he thought they were down. Because would he have done that? Would he have done that if he knew if it was a tie? He'd be like, I'll go down. I think that he thought they were losing.
It's one of the few things that explains what a stupid decision. I mean, I don't even know why any of them were lateraling. Just it's over, man. Why even go for that in that situation? Just play for overtime. But and it kind of made me think. I mean, I don't want to go down a wormhole in the Patriots, but like Belichick used to be known for his players playing within like the confines of like just a smart system, and that was so reckless and ridiculous. And I'm looking at Belichick, I'm like, what's happened, man?
Yeah, because somebody made the call to do that play.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing, was like the players did what they were told to do. It wasn't like they improvised.
Right.
Or like they were told to lateral and get something and see they get some yards. So they were told to do that. And for whatever reason. Well,
yeah, it's just surprising. But anyway, great games. There was great real football. It translated to some great fan. And shout out to Eric and Lenny. I mean, it could have gone either way, for both.
It was just so close. That's the thing. Like this game, like, score speed, we talked about this last podcast. I beat him 3 times this year, which is, in the sports world, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. I beat him 3 times. So that was good to do that. And then it was a 7-point game. And then your game was completely close except for that last play.
Yeah, I got a quick 19 points at the end, which helped, or whatever it was,
Yeah. I mean, Chandler finished with 19 points in that game. I think that last play was a 16-point game. So your game was essentially tied, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
wild. All right, so let's look at our the semi. We'll finish with the semifinals, right?
Yeah.
In the winners bracket. Let's look at some of our buddies that are fighting to avoid the pink plate, shall we?
Yeah. Look at the pink plate. Let's look at we got the consolation bracket. Let's go with let's start with Coach Roach and
I like it.
and the champ, the champ who is, what a season that like the champion of the LA Rams
Yeah.
and Miller, the champion of last year, have both taken a dive. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing how that
It
both
goes to
teams
show
are
you
doing.
how hard it is to repeat because everyone's gunning for you. And like joking aside, every time, beginning of the season, I think everyone wanted a piece of Miller. I mean, we wanted to take down the champ, and it's hard to win back to back.
Especially when he shows up with that binder. Like he had the binder. He was like, hey, he had the glasses on, studious. Man,
He did have his glasses on. He
he was
did.
like, I'm taking this thing 2 years in a row. And yeah, he did. But look, you know, some bad decisions and some bad luck. And that's all it takes. One or
Yep.
two breaks and you're done. Right. And there you go.
Well, when I look at this matchup, it kind of makes me laugh because it's almost like, and I understand that both of these guys have kind of, they don't have some of their best players that they had because they're kind of getting ready to rebuild for next season, and there's been trades and everything. But when I look at this lineup, it's almost like if someone, the football god said, "Hey, I want you guys to battle it out with backups and rookies," um,
Yeah.
because I mean, if you look at Roach's receivers, and that's where I think Miller's stronger in this matchup. Roach's receivers, Slayton, Carter, who's a wide receiver 4 for LA, and Hollins, who's a wide receiver 5 now for Las Vegas since they've gotten some pass catchers back just last week on the
Yeah.
Raiders. I mean, Hollins has got to be a wide receiver 5, so it's just funny to see, and it made me think for both these guys really. There's some players on the waiver wire that probably would be better than Hollins or Carter. I mean, I was looking at some of the guys that a lot of these teams could pick up that I think would be worth a look at that might be able to put up some points.
Yeah. I mean, you're scraping the barrel right now for somebody. And it's who do you get for this final week? It's a challenge because you're like, you're gonna get Richie James from New York Giants. You're gonna get Demarcus Robinson for the Ravens, who aren't going to throw the ball at all this week because they have a backup quarterback. Gabe Davis maybe for Buffalo, who's again the second or third option there. I mean, you're just dealing with like second, third options. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe.
But I mean, look at this guy, Rashid Shaheed, right? For
the New Orleans, right?
New Orleans Saints, right? Now, he's a burner. He only catches like 4 balls, gets 4 or 5 targets a game, maybe catches 3, but they'll be for over 100 yards. In the last couple of weeks, he's put up 20 points in back-to-back games, and before that, he had a 14-point game. And I know that this week, New Orleans is low on receivers because Olave's out, and so is Jarvis Landry. So I mean,
Yeah.
that would be a guy like if I was in a desperation situation where I'm starting Mac Hollins and I need a high ceiling guy that could give me 17 to 23 points potentially. I just go for it. Why not?
Yeah. And this is where I think the fantasy has to mirror real life, is that you want to have a number one receiver, you want to have a slot receiver, and you want to have a guy who's like big play. And like your wide receiver 3 or your flex has to be a guy who's like, you know what? I might give you 0 and I might give you 40. Because like at that position, like if just get another 8 points or 6 points out of a guy is like, who cares? But like if that guy can give you 40,
exactly,
that changes the whole complexion of your game.
Yeah, if I was fighting to avoid the pink plate and I had some, if I had, Mac Hollins on my squad, I would start Tyler Boyd, just in case, because he'll catch 2 touchdowns sometimes. And even this guy, Noah Brown for Dallas, seems to have supplanted Gallup at receiver. He's now running number 3, it looks like, and he's getting looked to. So, I mean, I think there's options out there,
And if you look at Cincinnati, like they've now won, 6 in a row? They're looking at like they're winning games, right? So
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. So when you're winning games and that means you're throwing the ball, you're getting a lot of plays.
Yep.
Winning teams always run more plays, and they're going to play against a New England team at New England, which I feel that that's a game that Cincinnati can win, and they're going to throw the
Yeah, I
ball.
mean, New England's not, they don't have the best pass defense right now. So, I
Yeah.
mean, and you always want those guys, like if you're in desperation mode, just go for the good offenses. If there's, even if it's a third string receiver on a solid offense, plug him in, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, just some thoughts for some of these guys that are playing in the losers bracket, but it's interesting to think about.
But like it's Jared Goff versus Purdy, and Purdy actually is projected for more points than Goff, which is crazy.
See,
That's
nuts.
Yeah, that's the drug testing of Yahoo. You got to say, hey man, like, are you on drugs? What's going on over here?
Yeah, I mean, there's no, like, I looked this up. I did a little research actually on some of these numbers for these guys, and Washington has allowed a quarterback to throw for over 200 yards once in the past 5 games. And then you got a rookie coming in, and I know it's in San Fran, but I mean, to me, Miller's got Dak Prescott on his bench. That's who you need to be starting.
Yeah, yeah. Because that they're gonna yeah. I mean, they're playing for their lives, but they are playing Philly, so that's I guess that's the call, right? Is that Philly's defense is really good, and so this is where you go. Like, do you take the good player versus the good defense, or do you take the unknown player versus the average defense?
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to, these are decisions you have to make. So we'll see. But looking at the game, if I had to make a prediction, I feel like I look at what High Life can do, and I'm gonna have to go with High Life. I feel like Miller's got this over Roach. I don't see the receivers for Roach doing anything at all. Derrick Henry, I think the Tennessee's starting a backup quarterback, so you're gonna have 12 guys in the box, right? So it's gonna be okay.
That's a valid point. And yeah, at first I thought Henry's gonna run all over Houston, but yeah, they have no reason not to stack it up on him. Now Henry might be able to run through it anyway, but you're right. He's got a lot to handle there. And in terms of like Drake London, like first of all, in terms of Miller's receivers that I like better, McLeod's kind of taking your lead in a way, Graham, in that I think he's the return specialist for that team. And Drake London is now being actually thrown to. He's had 11 targets last week and 10 targets the week before, because they're starting Desmond Ridder, who's actually capable of looking downfield. So I like Drake London. And Judy just put up over 30 points 2 weeks ago. So I like his running backs better. And I like Brian Robinson for Washington. I know he's playing San Fran, but he's good for a touchdown or 2 per game.
Yeah.
And he's got Herbert coming back off IR. And they like to go to him. So
side note, I will say this. I was talking to Roach today, a little side chat with Roach.
Yeah.
And I think Washington next year is going to have an amazing offense. They're a quarterback away. They've got 2 running backs. They've got 3 good receivers. They're going to have the head coach back. So everyone's going to get used to that play. If they can get the right quarterback in that system, it can be game changing. Because you look at what Heineke's doing right now, and Heineke is an average quarterback at best, and he's got weapons everywhere. If you can get somebody in there who can make some real throws, I think Washington can really pull what Philadelphia did. They can go on this offensive role for a while. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't keep Kirk Cousins or someone that, it doesn't have to be a superstar. It could be someone that could just get the ball down the field and manage the offense. And I think they gain 2 to 3 games if they can find that. Also, I'll throw out the fact that Miller picked up or Goddard for Philly is just getting off IR.
Yeah, I saw that he picked him up right before I saw that news come out, and he got him. I was like, good pickup.
And
Miller's still playing. Miller's not. He's not mailing it in. I think that's the best part about the pink plate. The pink plate makes you pay attention, right? So
I will say for Roach, Evan Ingram's playing with Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's, as we're going to probably talk about in the next preview, maybe Jacksonville's quarterback's been on fire. So I got to say, Ingram. I would rather have Ingram tonight on Thursday Night Football with that offense the way it's humming right now than have Goddard right off IR or even Waller off IR 2 weeks ago. So come on, Roachy.
Yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself that I knew that this was the year for Lawrence to have his year. I dropped him too early. I had a
Yeah, it
feeling,
took
but
a
I kept,
while.
I knew it was coming, but then I
Yep.
went back and forth, and by the time it came around, he was gone.
You
So
can't wait 8 weeks, 9 weeks for it to happen in fantasy, man. You know?
yeah, yeah. So what you got? What do you say? So I'm going with High Life.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I'm gonna go with Roach, and I'll tell you why. I think that Miller does have the advantage at the skill positions for the most part. But I think that I don't know why they have Purdy predicted so much more than Golf. I think Golf is going to probably level this playing field and push Roach over the top. I could see Golf potentially having like 25 to 30 more points than either one of Miller's quarterbacks, and that's how Roach wins. That's my prediction.
Right. So moving on, next one, we got the Steamers versus another Eastern Shore boy. We could have two Eastern Shore boys fighting for it, or we could have Matt. Let's see. Either $100 or the pink plate. So this is close. I mean, Yahoo has this at 206.14 to 206.99.
Yeah, that's wild.
You have the reject Gino versus Tom Brady, who is old as dirt. Looking across the board, you've got a mismatch of players. You've got Latavius Murray for running for Cleveland. Steven, I mean, he's been dropped more times by the real teams.
Right.
And you've got McKenzie, Buffalo's wide receiver. He's the second or third guy, depending upon what day it is. Kamara, who could be awesome, or he could do nothing. He's had a kind of a weird season.
Yeah, there's something. I think he's got a pending criminal case that I think has been weighing him down mentally, because he's just been off all year, and he's got a little bit in the doghouse, and he looks pissed even when he does well on the field. Something's going on there.
Yeah, and then Andrews, who is an amazing tight end and was doing great, got injured, and then Lamar got injured, and that's just taken his season sideways. And then what Zay Jones, the word on Zay Jones is, he's that slot guy that Jacksonville needs, and they're playing against the Jets, who apparently can't cover the slot. So Zay Jones could be a guy who takes off. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Zay Jones is a real sneaky receiver to have in the flex for Maturowski. I think that helps him there. I think Mark Andrews really misses having Lamar at quarterback. So that's kind of sad that he doesn't have someone really distributing the ball well to him, because he's the best tight end in the league when he has that. And I got to give the running back advantage to Craig. I mean, he's had a solid running back core of players all year, which is why he crawled back into the playoff hunt. But just to have the leading touchdown scorer with Williams from Detroit, you got Dalvin Cook, who exploded last week and looks just as feisty as he ever has. And Kamara at flex. I mean, I'll take Kamara at flex. I mean, so the running back advantage goes to Craig here for sure.
Yeah. And let's not forget, Craig is 30 points away from being the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Right. And sorry, Roach was 30 points. Craig was 60 points. I mean, these guys were just, a dropped bomb away from being in the playoffs.
Yep.
It's just it's like 7-7. So they could have been right there. So, I think looking at that, one of Roach or Craig will go to the next round, because I think they have better teams.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about Craig's receivers, like Palmer, number 3 guy for LA. He does have Ayuk, who's I think a solid start and a solid number 2. I don't love McKenzie at the slot position for Buffalo. I think he's really hit or miss. And again, this is another team where Craig, like I would consider picking up some explosive potential at receiver that's sitting on the waiver wire that we've already discussed, and just plug that in for McKenzie maybe.
He's got DJ Moore sitting on his bench. So, you got a guy who is a star receiver just in a shitty situation in Carolina. But DJ Moore is a number 1 receiver on his bench.
Yeah, he needs to put him in, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, and look, obviously not having Jalen Hurts is a big hurt, for Craig. Jalen Hurts has been carrying the load.
Yep.
Literally and figuratively for Philly.
Yeah, if Jalen Hurts was starting for Craig this week, this wouldn't be too much of an analysis at all.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Although
know?
Geno Smith, he is leading the league in completion percentage, and when you throw the ball a lot and complete a lot of passes, good things happen.
Yeah, he's having a great year, and I think he's probably going to do his best to show up against Kansas City. So, look,
I
I think Craig's got this. I think he probably wins it by 15 or 20, but I think Ski could put up a fight here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going with Ski. I just think that I feel like Geno Smith. I'm gonna think that he has a really big game. He's throwing the ball like 40 times a game, and if he has a 3 touchdown game, he could have one of those 50, 60 points that could propel. At this matchup again, we're looking at the minor leagues right here. So 50 points is a big day for these guys.
Graham, you're so funny. I love the way you subtly twist the knife for everyone and suffering through the losers bracket.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tom Brady, Geno Smith, that's even. I'll give the receiver advantage right now to Ski. I give the running back advantage to Craig. The defense, I don't know. It looks relatively even to me. I mean, it's going to be a close game. And go ahead and pick Ski, but I got my boy Craig on this one, man. I think he showed us at the end of the regular season that he's for real, and I think it's going to come true again. And Craig's going to move on.
All right. Well, we'll do the 5th, 6th place game next. That's going to be
Good, yeah.
Eric and Lenny. And again, evenly matched, 224 to 228. Mahomes versus Lawrence. Christian Watson, Pittman, Devonta Smith versus CeeDee Lamb, Gabe Wilson, Keenan Allen, Mixon and Pollard versus Eckler and Jacobs. I mean, these two teams, this could be a finals matchup.
Oh, both of these squads. I mean, look at the points that was scored in the quarterfinals last week. Everyone put up numbers, dude. Both of these teams have the potential to explode to a 300-point game. I mean, So yeah, I love this matchup. And let me just start with the quarterbacks real quick, because upon, you first look at it, you're like, EG has the advantage with Mahomes, right? And you can always say that. But I looked into this, man. Over the past month, the past 4 weeks, and they've both played the past 4 weeks, no buys for either one of them over the past month. Lawrence is 3rd in points scored for quarterbacks over the past month, and Mahomes is 5th. I mean, that's how on fire Trevor Lawrence has been. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson are the only quarterbacks with #1 finishes against this Jets defense. But the way that Trevor Lawrence has been playing the past month, I think he's going to join that group. I know he's got a tough battle because he's missing probably both his starting tackles going against the Jets. It looks like Quinnen Williams coming back. But when he's under pressure, Trevor Lawrence has an ADOT, average depth of target, of 12.4, which is one of the highest in the league. That's when he's under pressure. He's amazing at avoiding pressure. His pressure to sack ratio is 8th lowest in the league. And that was shown off last week when he played Dallas. He got out of some sacks that they were just ridiculous how he escaped it. Now he's got to finish that when he rolls out and he escapes the sacks, because he loves to throw deep when that happens. It doesn't always come to fruition, but he's been on fire the past month. And this is why I don't like Yahoo's prediction, because they take this 37.8, and I think it's just accumulation of what he's done all season. And they don't keep the trend, in mind. And the fact of the matter is that the trend right now is that Lawrence is a top 3 quarterback in the league over the past month. And I think he's going to put up every amount of points that Mahomes is going to put up against Seattle. Mark my words. So I think this is going to be an even quarterback battle.
Yeah. I mean, the last 3 weeks, I'm going to read numbers out. You have to guess if it's Lawrence or Mahomes.
Okay.
38 points, 55 points, 74 points. Or 35 points, 72 points, 64 points.
There's no way to know.
Yeah. It's one of those is Mahomes, one of those is Lawrence. Those are good numbers.
Huge.
We're not talking like 12, 50, and 30. These are 70-point weeks these guys are putting up.
Yeah.
So, I have a good feeling. I think Lawrence is finally realizing what he can do. It's, again, you got to remember, this is a new coach for him. It's the Eagles' former coach, right?
Yep,
So and now he's in his week 14. You know, that's 4 or 5 preseason weeks of getting ready. It's
absolutely.
14 weeks. That's all these practices, knowing the guys. You know he's a leader. He won at Clemson. He knows once he kind of gets, he's like, oh, you know what? The game slows down and you get better. You see it'll happen all the time, all these players. So I feel
Yeah, in
good
terms
about
of receivers, I feel like I want to give Lenny the advantage with CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, and Keenan Allen because they're all solid. But I kind of sleep on Eric's a little bit, I feel like, because Watson, he had a down week last week, but the 4 weeks before that, he was lights out scoring touchdowns. Pittman surprised me last week. He was much more productive than I expected him to be. And then you got Smith out of Philly, who's just a great receiver. So I think I'd give the edge slightly to Lenny, but it's close, man.
well, don't forget that Jalen Hurts is not playing. So you have Monta Smith is not going to get the right
Yeah, that's a good
targets,
point.
right? And then you have for Pittman, you know, that situation there is just, you know, it's sad how bad Indianapolis is this year. So does he get the ball? And then look, Watson, you're dealing with a rookie, so he could have. I mean, thankfully for me, he had an off week. He was at 36, 21, 25, 26, and threw up 8. So that's what rookies do.
Yeah.
They surprise you, and then they surprise you the other way. So I think that, you know, it's even because, like, look at Gabe Wilson, who's the quarterback for New York Jets. I mean, is it going to be Zach Wilson? Is it going to be Joe Flacco? Is it going to be Mike Smith? So all those are options, you know, that. And then
Right.
CeeDee Lamb against Philly, I guess the advantage there, if Philly does get out to a big lead, then they throw the ball. I mean, that's what you hope for.
Yeah.
But Dallas could be one of those, like, you know what? We're going to control the clock and run the ball all day. And that could be a game where you're looking at Pollard and Elliott just go off, right? So that's which score speed has Pollard, and that could lean in his favor against Philadelphia, where they just decide Dallas will just run the ball.
I gotta say, I don't envy Eric for his bench because sometimes, you know, you look at Lenny's bench and Lenny's got a pretty easy decision on who he's going to start. But I mean, Eric, I'd be like, damn, do I put the Detroit wide receiver in there? Williams, the rookie, he's been going deep a lot. Do I put Cooper in there? He's a solid 12 to 20 points a game at least. It's like I would have some tough calls. I mean, he does have Christian Kirk. I like that in the flex. But I would consider some of his bench guys in place of some of the players he has out there. I love Pollard. Let me compare the running backs real quick on both these teams. I give the edge to Lenny, even though Pollard's been amazing. You know, we know Mixon is capable of a 60-point week because he's had a 60-point week, but the rest of his weeks, besides that one blow up where he scored 5 TDs, pedestrian at best. I mean, I'm talking like an average of 12 points a game.
Yeah.
Besides that one week. And then when I looked at Jacobs, not only has Jacobs had a 60+ point week like Mixon did, but he's also had weeks of 37 points, 35 points, and 38 points on top of that 61-point week he had. So Jacobs is playing like a first round selection. And we all know Eckler is, a beast. So, I mean, I give the running back edge to Lenny here, man.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you on that for sure. I think Lenny's got the better running backs, just the better upside and better consistency across the board.
Even James Conner at his flex, I mean, last 5 weeks, 23, 13, 21, 23, and 18. I mean, they're using the crap out of him.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah, he's got an advantage at running back. And I'll take Kelsey over Njoku with this quarterback debacle they got going on in Cleveland right now.
Yeah.
Am I talking you into Lenny winning this game?
I mean, I look at this and I like, you know, if Mahomes can do a 70-point game again, I think that gets Eric the advantage.
Yeah.
But I feel like the other people. So if Lawrence becomes week 2 Lawrence, forget about it. But if Lawrence continues, then I think the advantage really goes to Lenny on this. This across the board. I think that, you know, looking from player 1 to player 20 or 18, he's just deeper across the board.
Yeah, we're
And
going
I
to
feel
find
like,
out tonight against the Jets if Lawrence is really ascending or not, because for all we know, the Jets could shut him down, sack him 10 times, and he could have just a crapper of a night. So we're going to find out a lot about Lawrence in about an hour.
yeah. And I will say this, Josh Jacobs leading the league in touches, 337 touches over Derrick Henry,
That is
right?
crazy.
He is just he's just coming around. He's doing his thing, which is great to see.
That's
First
one
of
of those
all,
things that you can never predict. Like none of us during the draft wanted anything to do with Jacobs after the past 2 years.
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's first in all-purpose yards. He's having a great season. It's a shame that the team is not doing great, but
Yeah,
it's great.
it's coaching, man.
He's obviously leading the league in rushing yards too. So what you got here? What are you leaning towards?
Yeah, I'm going Lenny. I think Lenny takes it here. I think
Yeah.
Scorp Speed finishes the season in 5th place.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So you got Lenny too?
Yeah, I'm going Lenny as well.
All right. We don't often agree on much, Graham, but I'm glad we came to a consensus there.
In fact, we got to go over our bets we had last week. I have to tally that up.
Yeah, that involves math on expectations and points over expectations. So yeah, I'll trust you to tell me if I want anything.
Yeah. Well, I'll give it to Miller because Miller's math in the Thursday night games always makes him win. So whatever math Miller's doing, if Miller were doing the math on the fantasy, he'd be like, "Oh yeah. My quarterback threw for 19 touchdowns. Look, I'm winning." All right, let's
Graham.
go. Let's go to the big boy games.
Let's go to the big boy games. The games where the real. Let's be honest. The two matchups that most of the country is going to be paying closest attention to.
So we'll go my game first, so we can save the commissioner's game for last.
Oh, thanks, Graham.
All that pressure and all that that fanfare for you to wrap up your semifinal here. So we'll go with my game first. Okay. Against the birthday boy, Buck Nasty.
I think you got a challenge on your hands, Graham. I'm just going to set the stage that way.
I do. I mean, look, this is, look at these names: Allen, Adams, AJ Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Ramondre Stevenson, Hawkinson, Kenneth Walker III, Godwin. I mean, those guys. It's a Pro Bowl right there, right? That's a Pro Bowl.
Stacked lineup, dude.
Right. It's a lot of things going on. Look, my hope is that again with Hurts out, that AJ Brown doesn't get the same sort of looks he would normally get. My hope is Miles Sanders gets a lot of touches and doesn't do a negative 0.1 that he got for me last week. Those are the kind of the hopes I'm going for.
Well, let me try to talk up your team, okay? Or give you a reason why I think you can win this. You ready?
You go for it.
Okay. Josh Allen is playing in Chicago. I expect Buffalo to handily win this game. I don't think they're going to have a lot of trouble with Chicago. That tells me that it could be a 40 type point game for Allen, right? Because I think they're going to take it over halfway through the third quarter. In Philadelphia, for Brown at receiver for Sarge, he doesn't have a starting quarterback. We have no idea how that's going to impact his game. Same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. Don't have their starting quarterback, starting some lesser known third string type guy quarterback in Arizona. How's that going to affect Hopkins? Not well. You got Walker out of Seattle. They're playing Kansas City. Kansas City could be way ahead in that game, and Walker could have a hard reason to be on the field. Not to mention he's coming back from injury right now. Ramondre Stevenson, same thing. Is he going to get the ball a lot if Cincinnati's got a 3 touchdown lead? Maybe not. So you got the kind of matchups here in all of his starters games that could really go in your favor.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like these are awesome players that basically need favorable things to happen for me, which is where you get to in the playoffs. Like it's not like Stephon Diggs versus Devontae Adams. I mean, that's 1 versus 1A. I mean, you're really hoping for something good to happen, right? Or something bad to happen to the other team. That's really what you're hoping for at this level. It's not like we're dealing with Devontae Adams versus, a Marquise Brown, right? It's just a whole different. These are the top versus the top.
Absolutely.
But I think that the challenge will be, I think that I have to think when I beat Sarge the first time, Allen had a good game, but all of his passes were to Diggs, who had a great game.
Right.
Right. Now this week I'm changing. I'm putting Tua in, not Kirk Cousins right now. And I'm doing this because Tua's playing at home. He's playing against a Green Bay team that is going to score the ball. Let's face it, like you don't see Aaron Rodgers get blown out that much. So it's going to be a game that's back and forth, in my opinion. Aaron Rodgers does not get blown out. Compared to Kirk Cousins, he's playing at home against the Giants, who are going to run the ball a lot and have a lot of time, right? So they're going to run the ball to Saquon, I think, which helps me out with Saquon, but then it diminishes how many plays Kirk will get, right? So that's what I'm thinking about here is the Giants are going to run, and Kirk is going to get 25 pass attempts. That's what I'm thinking here.
You could be right. I would be nervous about starting Tua over Kirk after what Kirk did for you last week. And Tua has scored above 39 points once in the past month. And that was a 40-point game. I mean, does that make you nervous at all?
Well, that was a 40-point game at half. He was on pace. He was on pace in that game. They were winning that game 30-0 at halftime. So they took him out. So makes me a little nervous, but he got 40 points at Buffalo in that cold, right?
True.
So I feel like they get in Miami, they're at home, they're playing for their lives. I feel good about this. Now I can't say the same thing next week. I might change it next week because next week they're playing at New England, and that might be something I switch if I make it to next week, if it's a game that I have to worry about. But yes, and I'm thinking I might need those double touchdowns to help me out against Sarge. Where that's my hope.
I think your reasoning is good. I would just suffer over the decision. If it were me, I would have analysis paralysis and probably put them both in like 20 times, Sunday morning and try to figure out what the hell I was doing. It'd be tough for me to make that call.
Well, keep in mind, I put Cousins in at 12:57. Right. So that was on Pro Football and all those things.
What the hell happened with Miles Sanders last week for you? I mean, that was unusual, man.
Yeah. So the one play that really hurt him is that he made the reception, he fumbled the ball, and the ball went backwards 13 yards. So it became a 13-yard loss and then lost fumble. And those negative points, because the way we look at things, did that. He had just not a great game. He had 11 attempts at 42 yards, but those negative plays, which I love the fact that we do that.
Yeah.
You want to get players that do good things. And that's a week after you have 17 carries, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I feel like he'll bounce back. They're playing at Dallas. Yeah. This is a game where I think they're going to run the ball. I think there's going to be
They need to have that balance on offense, especially if Hurts isn't starting. I think they're going to lean on him a lot.
Yeah. And then I'm going with the other Hill, Taysom Hill. I'm going with the quarterback / tight end / running back. This season for me, I thought I had a tight end for the next 3 years. Kyle Pitts, I picked him up and he's my keeper. 5th round. I thought I had a tight end for the next 3 years, and crappy situation in Atlanta. And I've been struggling all year with the tight ends. So I'm going to go with the guy who, like we talked about before, who could give you 4 or could give you 40.
Yep.
And in this matchup, I think I need those 40 as an upside. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that Kyle Pitts situation is tough. And I called you earlier today because Noah also drafted Kyle Pitts, my son. And it's a shame because we don't know what Kyle Pitts would have been with this rookie quarterback throwing to him, this Desmond Ridder guy. I heard some stuff on Desmond Ridder before the actual NFL draft, and some analysts felt like he had one of the higher ceilings of all the rookie quarterbacks to come in. I mean, I think he could potentially be a good quarterback for Atlanta. And as we see, I mean, he's already spreading it around and throwing deeper. than they had been all year. So I would have loved to have seen, if you saw great things between Ritter and Kyle Pitts the last month, you'd be like, oh, I'll keep him again because the things are turning up. But we just don't know what it would have looked like. Kyle Pitts is a huge disappointment this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this is a guy, Desmond Ritter, who like 4 years in Cincinnati, right? 4-year quarterback. So he has a lot of reps, starter
Yep.
all 4 years, 20 touchdowns as a freshman, 30 as a senior, 87 total touchdowns with 20 interceptions in college. This is a guy that has put up, 4 years. He's a player. It's not like he's been
Yeah.
doing nothing. He's a player, right?
Yeah.
And I think these guys, when they come in, if they've been throwing the ball, they don't get scared. 4 years at a college D1 program, starting every year, I feel like
Yeah,
that's
and he
the kind of
looks
guy
like he
that,
belongs out there. And it makes you think, you got to wonder if Atlanta's thinking, why didn't we put this guy in earlier, just to develop him because he's the future.
yeah, yeah, and he's a 23-year-old guy, so he's not young as a rookie.
Yeah, he's got some maturity.
Yeah, so I just feel like he's one of these guys, and had you given him more time throughout the whole year, would you still be, 5-9, right? I mean, if you had this guy, I mean, everyone knows Marcus Mariota. I mean, it's not like it's a big surprise that he sucked. So,
No, he's never been a good passer of the football, which is a shame when you're a quarterback,
yeah, that's kind of like the things we should be good at.
This is a close matchup, man. I'm just looking. It really does help you that Walker and Stevenson are both banged up, because if they 100% healthy and going against some less than opponents, that could be a big problem for you. So, but he's got some guys on the bench he can start to kind of supplement. Rashad White out of Tampa Bay's had some good weeks and has looked like their best running back on many occasions. So he's got to consider starting him.
Yeah, no, I picked him up earlier, and I couldn't hold on to him. I roster or whatever. I knew he was going to get playing time eventually.
Yeah,
and it's just you let these guys go and they come back and they might hurt you.
I know.
But I think that he's got Cam Akers, who I don't know if he's doing anything for LA right now. We'll see. And I think that my late season find of Marcus Jones and Kason Nixon, these guys that are cornerbacks,
Yeah,
who are returning the ball, has been just helpful the last couple weeks. These guys that, every time the other team scores, well, first of all, when they're on defense, they're on the field. And then if the team scores or punts, they get a kick return. So it's these things of getting extra points, extra reps.
Yeah, it's not to go unnoticed. I mean, I know it's I tend to I want to make sure I have good guys in my defense, but I don't always consider them as much. But I think you really did find a huge advantage there, because, and even Yahoo thinks that Nixon's going to put up 2 points. That's just not accurate. I mean, he's going to put up 10 and possibly more. And so when you can tilt the point, when you can find a cornerback that's going to go 10 to 15 and the other guy gets 3 points out of it, it really is an advantage that's really helped you, Graham, stay alive through the playoffs. Yeah. For sure.
So these are the last games for Kayshawn Nixon, Kayshawn, or whatever it might be. Yeah. 16, 16, 23, 15, 12 out of a cornerback.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And if you don't have a guy that's putting up secret numbers like that, very oftentimes you're going to be stuck with a guy that can put up the occasional 11-point game for you at cornerback if he gets a pick or something. But it's very often 3 or 4 points.
Yeah. And comparatively, here's the last games from DeAndre Hopkins: 13, 10, 19, 18, 19. Right. So that's what these guys can do if they have a big game. So
yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
All right. So who do you think is going to win here, Graham?
Well, I'm picking me. I'm picking my team. I like my team. I've liked my team the whole year. I've liked my moves I've made. I've liked the trades I've made. I've liked my engagement the whole year of this. So I'm sticking with me. But if it wasn't my team, like, look, Sarge has got a great team. He's been a lucky man since the draft, when he almost didn't die by crashing out of the second story window. I mean, he's just been a man blessed. So
yeah,
let's see how long that lasts. But yeah, so I'm picking me. I feel like it's going to be super close. Yeah. Look, semifinals. like not touch wood. I don't see a blowout unless someone gets injured. But I'm picking me at the end. And I think I'm picking me because I believe that my two defensive guys are going to make the difference. I feel like I'm going to win by 15 points, and it's going to be because both those guys do something great on defense. Marcus Jones and Keyshawn Nixon.
Yeah. Man, it's too close. Let's be honest. It's too close to pick. Both teams look great. I think you do have an advantage with those defensive players. It's going to be close, man. On paper, you got to give Sarge the advantage. He's going to score more points at tight end potentially. But the game's not played on paper. I don't love his matchups. I'll give you the slight edge, Graham, but I'll tell you what, if you start Tua and he lays an egg, it's going to be a problem for you.
Yep. But you go to the dance with who brought you, right?
That's right.
See what happens. All right, so we have the premier matchup. The commissioner who's got the pink plate, ready to get out the front of the garage and take that plate and mail it to somebody else. against the first place, who I call the fraudulent first place team, Hammond, who has just been kicking ass and taking names. I mean, this is it's close on paper, and
yeah,
it's a hot Joe Burrow, it's a hot Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Evans, but you've got Herbert, who's got the golden arm, you've got the sun god, you've got the other receiver, and you've got Waddle, who can be just a PPR machine. And then you've got McCaffrey, you've got Etienne versus Chubb Mustard. I mean, this is a monster matchup. Like this is Sunday Night Football. This is what you're paying for right here. So
yeah, and then I got Big Mike Williams at my flex. He's got Donovan Peoples-Jones at his flex. I mean, yeah, it's good all around. I think the Herbert and Burrow matchup is very even. I like that Herbert's in a dome. I think that helps him, and his athleticism is just going to shine with no weather problems. I like
the great thing with that is it's Monday night. I mean, this is where your quarterback, the guy that your keeper, like the guy that you wanted, is gonna can carry your team across the finish line to go to the finals. I mean, that's what you hope for. And same reason, like last week when Saquon Barkley was playing on Monday night, and was like, my first round draft pick, can he do it?
Yeah.
Right? And for you, it's like, here's your guy, it's your quarterback, so it's gonna be fun on Monday night. I hope you don't make plans for Tuesday morning.
You had to love watching that game, because I was watching it when they played Washington last week, and he was saying, to the reporters before the game, if I'm really the guy, I need to carry us to victory today. And you gotta love hearing your fantasy first round pick in a week that really matters say on national television, I'm carrying this game. You're like, thank you, baby, carry me all the way to the finals. I mean, that had to make you feel good, Graham.
That was great. I just love hearing that. It's good when the players also. It's good when players, I don't know if the players know this, I'm sure the players know that this is fantasy playoffs. I'm sure they know that, that their stock rises among the fans when they have a great game. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, look at this matchup. It's going to be just a heavyweight boxing match before, like, this is what you pay for. I think that the advantage of quarterback is, I think that Herbert has a higher upside, because he does everything for that team, where Burrow can, have the running back do something. Jefferson is just, it's like, Jefferson's like when, a big kid in middle school who's like, he's been held back 3 years, plays middle school football, and just runs over everybody.
Yeah, he's going to have a big game.
Unfair.
He's going to have a big game against the Giants. It's in a dome. At his place, and he could be, it's not impossible for him to be the first receiver this year in the history of the NFL to go for over 2,000 receiving yards. And he's on pace right now to beat the top score, 1,900 some, but you got to think that him and Kirk are thinking we could set this record. And that makes me nervous for having to play him in these playoffs. Jamar Chase is another just phenomenal guy, and he's stacking it with Burrow. So if they have a big day together, that could be a problem for me. But they may not need to have a big day against New England. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? So that's, against that team, if they don't, they run the ball.
Yep.
It's
It,
cold. Do they run the ball?
it could be a
Or
mixing kind of game.
yeah, so we'll see. And then, but you've got, unfortunately for you, you've got Higgins, who's also going to rely on that part. So if it
Yeah.
comes down to like Higgins versus Chase, and that's an interesting battle. If New England shuts down Chase, does Higgins get it?
Yeah. Yeah. He prefers Chase over Higgins, but if Chase is really, and Belichick's famous for taking away your best guy. So they may be doubling Chase. It may set free Higgins, or again, their wide receiver 3, who's on the waiver wire right now, that people might want to pick up and consider. But yeah, I think the receivers matchup to me is even when you compare Waddle and Evans. Evans is being force fed right now, but not real successfully by Brady. So I like Waddle in that matchup. And then if you compare our flex receivers, Williams versus People Jones, I like Williams better. I think it's close to even at receiver. I'd give him the slight edge because of Jefferson, but I think it's close.
It's close. And look, People Jones, he's a guy that he could get the big play, but that's
Yeah.
a lot. That's a lot to ask for, right? I think that's the problem there. Is like, he gets some plays, but he could break one. He's had a couple games where he's broken some long plays, so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah. I don't like his quarterback situation, so I'm really hoping that he has a down day.
Yeah, and then tight end. Look, you've got Kittle, who's just been, he put up 27 points for you, or 25 points last week.
Came through.
Yeah, came through. Yeah, I think tight ends are good. But I will say this for Jefferson. Jefferson's having a monster year, right? He is first in yards. He is first in receptions, but he is 7th in touchdowns, which goes to show you how remarkable last year was for Cooper Kupp.
Oh yeah.
But Jefferson is having an amazing year, but 7 touchdowns. And so with Cooper Kupp, that triple crown, like it's just
Crazy.
amazing when you see like, Jefferson's just a man among boys, but even he won't get the triple crown this year.
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny how that works.
That was a really special year that Cup had. And even this year, Cup was going off as bad as their team was. Cause when I go to the waiver wire to pick up players, and see who's out there, Cup's still leading in a lot of categories,
Yeah. It was like when Derrick Henry was leading the league in rushing yards after being out for 4 weeks.
Yeah. Same kind of thing, Cup's
Yeah.
still leading the receivers in a lot of categories. He's been out for a month. So yeah, he had another great first half of the season. And then, oh, by the way, Graham, I just want to point out on my team, I followed your lead. I picked up a cornerback from Houston who's also their kick returner. His name's Tremon Smith. And the reason I like him is that he's been starting a lot more lately, kind of on the regular, starting as a cornerback and putting up some nice tackles. Last week, he had 7 solo tackles, 3 assists, plus he's a kick returner. So I'm kind of hoping, Graham, that you inspired me to maybe try to sneak some extra points here. Yahoo has Tremon Smith at cornerback for Houston only getting 3.9 points, but last week he scored 14, and the week before that he scored 16. I think it's going to be more than 3, and I think that's going to be a little advantage for me there.
So I give you this. So all year, 0 defensive snaps. The last 2 weeks, he had 100% of the defensive snaps last week and 73% of the snaps the week before. So he's getting some playing time. And you add that with kick returns, punt returns, and you've got a guy who can do some magic for you. I think that, to me, that's one thing you can look at Pro Football, is you can look at the snap counts. Who's playing?
Yeah, that's really huge. The peripheral numbers can really be informative, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing if a guy's on the field 100% of the time, good shit's going to happen. Right. So, playing time is what you really need. Some guys might be better, but
sure.
Like, look, Cooper Kupp is amazing, but he's got 0% playing time.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, obviously that's a 0 to 100, but it's what you look for. If these guys are playing a lot and then they're getting other roles.
Yeah.
That's where you get these bonus points. Because a lot of times we look at names, like we look at TJ Watt. Okay. Oh, TJ Watt. But actually, is he playing a lot, or is he not? He just,
exactly. The trends are important too. Like, you might have a guy whose name you're not real familiar with, but he might over the past month be leading the league in targets like thrown to at receiver, and you're like, oh damn, That's a solid PPR floor right there. And so
Yeah.
you got to look for that stuff for sure. And then also, I don't want to forget to add that at defense, after I watched Thibodeau play last week against the Washington football team, this guy is a house wrecker, dude. I couldn't believe what I was
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
And I think
You know,
he's
you
coming
did
into
draft
his own. I
him.
mean, he scored 26 points last week. I don't expect that, of course, but from what I saw with my eyes, this guy he's just a wrecking ball. It was unbelievable. I think against Minnesota, I I expect 10 points out of him this week, man, based on what I saw last week if he's healthy. It was unbelievable what this guy did.
Yeah. But it's like, but what happened? Because he's been playing the whole year. You know, he's getting his snaps. He's playing 80% of the snaps on defense. What happened in that game? That
This
like,
is, I think it's a couple things. I think that as a rookie, it takes time to kind of come into your own and settle in and know the game plan and be able to react without thinking. I think even the most talented rookies go through a phase like that. It was a nationally televised game, and he's a personality. He's playing for New York. He's trying to promote himself. But I think with a game like that, just think about the confidence it gives you as a rookie player. You're like, I can do this. I belong here. And I think he's going
yeah,
to carry through the rest of the season, I hope, man.
yeah, yeah, man. That's a guy who can do some damage on the field and for your team.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it's close, man. I think it's going to be a close matchup. I can't remember if Ham and Cheese has beaten me, if Chris has beaten me twice already this year. I didn't look that up. I'm kind of curious about that.
let's see what the let's look at your schedule here. Mr. Magic schedule. So Ham and Cheese, you lost to him in week 5, and you lost to him in week 14.
So he's going for the triple against me.
Going for the triple.
Okay.
Let's see. Sarge and I are 1-1, so I'm even with him. Going for the triple.
Right.
So week 5, he beat you handily, 234 to 158.
He had some injuries back then.
And then week 14, 256 to 216. I mean, he put up some points. And then we talked about this before. Ham and Cheese is just Ham has been consistent, like no dips. You know, no dips in his season. I mean, he lost at 187. He lost at 236 when Craig just raped him, and he lost to Buck Nasty when he scored 208. So he's
we've discussed his consistently high points. You know, I remember we talked about him when he played me in week 13 or whatever and scored 256 points against me, Graham. Burrow only got him 40, and Nick Chubb and Mostert got him a combined total of 13, and Mike Evans only put up 9 points, and he still scored 256.
Yeah.
I mean, damn,
crazy.
dude.
Yeah, he's having a season, so
we'll see. When Jefferson puts up 44 and Jamar Chase puts up 30.
Yeah, it's hard to beat. Hard to beat. But you know, the my bias, you know, if I had to choose, you know, my pick at this, man, that's gonna be close. I think because you're my podcast buddy, I'm gonna have to pick you for this one.
Thanks, Graham.
You know, I think that's I'm going with that. There's no, it's flipping a coin, really, but you know.
Yeah. As I look at my team, my big trade was the Mike Williams one. This is basically the team I drafted. You know what I mean? And I've stuck with them all year. They've gotten me this far. If I lose with them, I lose with them. It's the best lineup that I can possibly put up right now. I've put a lot of time and effort into it, and it is what it is, man. I hope we have a good battle. I hope I come out on top. I hope we see each other in the finals, man.
Oh my God, yeah, that'd be a great podcast. We can make it that far. We'll see. We got a lot of work to do. We got a couple of days of football here. It's going to be, well, it's crazy because we're going to do almost everything Saturday, right? I mean, there's only 3 games on Sunday, 1 game on Monday. You know, one of us is out of this whole team. Someone's getting coal.
Right. And then next week, we'll talk a little bit more about who's vying for that pink plate and who's fighting for first place.
Oh man, it's going to be, you know, I don't know who's going to be more worried, the person who's got to get a pink plate or the people in the finals. You know, it's going to be an interesting couple days. So we'll see. This has been good. This has been, hopefully, you know, you guys watching at home, all of our hundreds of thousands of fans that are out there, appreciate you watching. You know, this podcast is sponsored by Natty Bo and Milwaukee's Best. So hopefully, you guys can. We only need to make $100,000 in sponsorship so you can quit your job and be a full-time commissioner. That's all we need.
That would be a dream come true.
Full-time fantasy football commissioner. I mean, your logo, people could go right here. You have a logo right there.
Make it happen, Graham.
I'll try.
All right, brother. It was just good. I hope it's entertaining for the guys. I hope people are actually watching it. It's fun to do. It's fun to look at the teams, and I always enjoy it, man. So hey, Graham, have a great this is Christmas weekend, man. Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas to everyone out there, man.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, man. Hopefully Santa Claus visits you at your home, and when he comes down to sunny Florida, he gets to relax.
That's awesome, dude. Put up some lights on the palm tree for me.
That's right. All right, Commish.
Good to see you, bro. See ya.